Happy Nightmare Night, every pony. Tonight I am going to present to you a little bit of something different. In that we're not going to be talking about strictly MLP tonight. This is sort of, I guess, a special for you all. And it's talking about something that I've been thinking about doing a little bit more with this on this channel anyway, and that's talking about creepypastas. So tonight I am going to present to you my top 10 overrated creepypastas. And I just want to make this clear that when I say overrated, I don't mean bad. Not necessarily. What I mean is stories that get a little bit more praise than they probably deserve to, often at the expense of other, perhaps, at least in my opinion, better written stories. So, anyways, with that said, let's jump right into the list. Number 10 is Squidward's suicide. Would have been perfectly unnerving without the dead children, and of course better grammar. That kind of shock for shock's sake is... I'm kind of an old, jaded comic books fan, and one of the things I hate is when they pull shock death, especially in big event books, just to make things seem worse than they actually are. As in, like, to enhance the threat of a villain. I kind of feel the same about this. I hate it when DC Comics pulls this shit out of their bag. So what makes someone think I'm going to like it for their anonymous internet story? Besides, there's far more scary and unnerving lost episode pastas out there. Have you read Doug's Real Life? Have you read The Puppet Master's Regime? Have you read Lister's Reich? No? Read those. Those are a lot better than Squidward's suicide. Number 9, Clockwork. I like Natalie, and I think she has a lot of potential. But the story she got saddled with was clearly written by an inexperienced author, big on ideas, and pretty poor at executing them. I love you, Lucid, but the simple fact of the matter is that the story is riddled with so many flaws. And I'm not talking about, like, the whole rape and child abuse thing, because I can actually defend the character with those elements in her backstory by saying simply, she has dissociative identity disorder. Basically, Clockwork and Natalie should be thought of as two separate characters. And the thing about DID is it's usually caused by childhood trauma, namely physical and sexual abuse. But the rest of it still has so many flaws that you can drive a fucking Peterbilt through. I know what it wants to do, and what it wants this character to be, but there's so many leaps in logic. There's too much unexplained, and things are too rushed through in parts that need better explanation in what's otherwise a fairly lengthy story. But at the same time, the parts that don't really need a lot of explanation are the ones that have all the loving detail attached to them. And it all collapses on itself. Now, as for my little defense of Natalie there, with that said, Biter once told me about my review of Some Pony to Watch Over Me, that if you have to headcanon a story to make it work, it's not a good story. And essentially, yeah, I'm kind of headcanoning the story to make Natalie work. So, yeah, automatically, it's just not a good story. Number 8, Lost Silver. Okay, okay. Explain to me why this is so popular. Because I don't fucking get it. The story is not scary in the least, and seems to meander all over the fucking place. It seems confused on if it wants to be Strangled Red, which relies on a strong narrative, or Ed, Edd and Eddy, the lost episode, where it tries to spook you by being as confusing and nonsensical as possible. As a result, it ends up being a whole lot of neither. It's a boring, tedious fucking mess, and the protagonist in the story, in-story game, is more fucking emo than Shinji Ikari. So yeah, how the hell did this get so big? Don't read this shit. If you want good Pokepastas, read Strangled Red or Creepy Black instead. Number 7, Cupcakes. Us bronies sure do love our Grimdarks, don't we? And Cupcakes holds a special place in the fandom simply by virtue of being first. But as any Gothic lit fan who has read The Castle of Otranto can attest, being first does not necessarily mean being good. Cupcakes is a perfectly okay fic, but that's all it is. Okay. It's a great scene from a decent torture porn, but it barely counts as a story by itself. Things happen, but you can't really say there's much in way of progression. Characters don't change, no arc is covered, it's just nasty things happen. Well-described nasty things, but that's all the story is. Nasty things happen. Number 6. Oh, I'm going to get the hate for this one, but goddamn eyeless Jack. Jack makes no sense, the police are incompetent, Mitch is a goddamn moron, and the doctor is fucking retarded. Enough said. Number 5. Fall of Equestria. Now, keep in my mind disclaimer. Overrated doesn't necessarily mean bad. It simply means that one feels other stories might deserve or are worthy of more attention than the one in question. This is the prime example of that. As I said in my video on Fall of Equestria last year, I like it. It's probably the darkest MLP alternate universe. It's depressing, claustrophobic, and utterly hopeless, and as sick as it sounds, I like that. But the fact is that Fall of Equestria is a great idea, but the story is rather lacking. The creators move at a fucking snail's pace, and while what we have got of the narrative is good, they still seem more concerned with the clop instead of the world building. I understand that it's a gigantic, multi-tiered, and multi-authored rape fic. So, of course, it's going to be clop-focused. Sexual violence is the driving force behind everything. That, and the Caribou being a bunch of misogynistic psychopaths that truly do believe they're in the right, and that women are in fact inferior and men need to exercise dominance over them. But it can be hard to get invested in the overarching plot when so little of it has been released. This is a goldmine of an AU that can explore some serious topics and go to some seriously fucked up places, and instead it's being wasted on porn. Just pure and simple porn. And that's disappointing to me. Number 4. Smile.jpg / SmileDog. Okay, I will admit the decaying image of the Smile Dog is pretty fucking scary. And the story itself is rather well written. But it's a picture of a husky with human teeth with a bunch of bad Photoshop filters. Oh, just because you tell me the picture is from the early days of the internet, you don't think I can spot the filters? Really? Fucking really? Number 3. Sonic.exe. The only decent thing about this is the fan port, and that's only good for one playthrough, really. Or if you've seen others do the playthrough, then yeah, that it's good for that, and nothing else. The story itself, though, the main character is a douche, a tool, a pretentious asshole. Much like the author, JC the Hyena, who is one of the most over-the-top, grandiose, self-centered, conceited fucking bastards I have ever seen. And that ending. I'm supposed to be afraid of a bloody Sonic plushie. A bloody fucking plushie. What the fuck are you smoking? Eat the biggest bag of dicks, you pretentious, untalented hack. Ooh, this. Ooh. Ugh. I'd rather read Tales All stories, and they're just as fucking stupid. Okay, number 2. Come play with me. I gotta preface this before I really get into it. Before I really do what I have written in the script. Because this is going to sound very harsh. And it is very harsh. And for good reason. Because I've seen you, Kiki Hyuga. I know you. I know you're a good person. I know you treat your fans well. I know you take criticism well. I know that you're a good artist. And I know that you even demonstrate in this story that you're capable of very good writing. And I haven't read it, but I do know that you've done Eyeless Jack's origin story, since the original author of the original story basically disowns it because he knows it's a bad story. And I've heard that you did a pretty bang-up job at making Eyeless Jack make sense. So I know you got the talent. I know you got the artistic drive. So I want to say this. I don't dislike you. I don't hate you. I'm not even, well, I am mad at you. But I think you know what I'm trying to say. I think you're a good person, and I'm disappointed is what I am. Okay, that out of the way. Get ready, because I'm going to rage. So you might want to turn your speakers down just a little bit here. Alright. This story is the perfect example of a bad ending ruining an entire story. I know some hate that Sally has to suffer so much, but that doesn't really bother me. As I've said before, content of most stories doesn't really bother me by itself. And also, I think that's kind of the point. Is it meant to be shocking? Yes. But it's also meant to make us sympathetic with the character and disgusted / heartbroken at her end. But that ending. If the ending had been something simple, like she comes back, haunts and kills her uncle, and then rests peacefully, that would have been perfect. A nice, satisfying conclusion that ties up all loose ends and feels cathartic. But no. No, we can't have that. We can't fucking have nice things. No, instead, Sally comes back alright and becomes a fucking serial killer. What the fuck? Why? How? What the fuck is even going on here? Explain, story. Explain. Why is she doing this? I get that she's a ghost. I get why she's a ghost. She has unfinished business with her uncle. I get that. Why? Why? Why the fuck does she kill innocents? She didn't go crazy due to trauma. Like Natalie or Tiki Toby or even fucking Jeff. She's a motherfucking ghost. How did you fuck this up, Kiki? This is Stephanie Meyer levels of egregious disregard for the rules and conventions of your paranormal entities. What, are we trying to play with Japanese ghost rules here? Is that it? Are we trying to play by Ringu rules? Are you trying to make Sally into the next fucking Sadako? Because despite your name, Kiki, I've seen you, and you're fucking white! This is terrible. This is bad, and you should feel bad. This story! Alright. Number 1. Jane Richardson. And no, I'm not going to preface this. I'm just going to say it. Fuck Mr. Angry Dog. Fuck him and the goddamn horse he rode in on. Because the original Jane the Killer is the biggest fucking joke of a creepypasta OC I've ever seen. Why? Because it's all a bunch of convoluted bullshit. Jane Arkansas' story is so simple and sweet. She knows Jeff. In fact, her parents and Jeff's parents were actively interested in having them be friends. Instead, Jeff does the whole snapping routine and kills her parents, then tries to make her as beautiful as him by torching her ass. He sort of admits he fucked up by sending her the mask and wig to hide her injuries with, but it's too late. Jane's mind is made up. Jeff must die. Boom. Easy revenge thriller. Something very similar to like Death Wish or something like that. I like that. That's easy to follow. It's easy to relate to. It's easy to understand. Jane Richardson's story wants to start like that, with Jane losing her parents to Jeff, but then it turns into a fucking rehash of the goddamn Wolverine origin, complete with a Weapons X program that gives her goddamn superpowers, including the ability to fucking regenerate. And in her universe, she's public knowledge. When she's not hunting Jeff, she is a grade A assassin that hires herself out to the highest bidder in order to raise money for her baby sister and her girlfriend. And she's a motherfucking celebrity for it. Like talk shows and the whole fucking deal. And that's the very fucking definition of a Mary Sue, if ever there was one. She's perfect. She can do no wrong. She's even functionally immortal. And she gets rewarded for it. And Mr. Angry Dog is pretty much as much of a twat as fucking JC the Hyena. If you mention Jane Arkansas or any other interpretation of Jane to him, he goes on fucking tirades. Mention Jane as a Mary Sue, and he tries to publicly humiliate you. Because he's a sad fucking cunt. So yeah, fuck him, fuck Jane, and Jesus H. fucking Christ, take me out of this world because I don't want to live here anymore so long as this thing still exists.